Cold beer here. We are back, ladies, gentlemen, fellas, kids, all you toddlers out there that are watching the Cold Beer Here podcast. I am Matthew. I'm here with Tilly. How you doing, man? What's happening?
I'm doing good. I'm usually off on Mondays during the summer, and I had to go into work today because we had new interns starting, and it's kind of thrown off my whole groove, my summer groove. But I'm doing good otherwise. But how are you doing?
Yeah, had to go in earlier. The brew house is broken, so had to have the electrician come look at that. Write a bunch of checks. Pretty much Monday. had a good anniversary weekend, and
yeah, happy anniversary.
Yeah, we're still alive.
That's good. It's good.
It's probably feel very similar to how most marriages are at 2 years. Well, we're still open.
I figure it's kind of like, if it doesn't kill you in the first, 6 months or so, it's got to decrease to a certain extent, like a bell curve. And then at a certain point, the odds of survival go back down again, I think. It's like you got to reach that peak and enjoy that for a little while.
Yeah. I mean, most restaurants, like 7 years is a hell of a run.
Yeah.
But, it kind of depends. Sometimes standard is born and they're around forever, but not usually.
Yeah.
But we're happy. Yeah, the 2 years is a good point. I told everybody last year when they were at the first year, and they're like, "Man, congratulations! It's crazy." It's like, "What do you guys? How are you doing this?" Because it was 5 months into COVID, and I said, "Well, yeah, we're just figuring it all out." I'm like, "But save the congratulations for 2 years." It's like, if we can make it to 2,
like you're solid, especially with the challenges.
Yeah, and now I kind of feel like, talk to me at 3.
Hit me up in 5 years. Well, that's a good way. Just keep adjusting it. Save your congratulations. Wait until we hit 15 years, and then
Yeah. Oh yeah. To be honest, when we opened, of course people were saying that, and I remember being like, we haven't done anything. Like you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Looking back, it is a feat certainly to get something opened, but like you haven't done anything, and I really felt that. I was like, I knew that I was entering the dog days of working every day 80 hours a week, and everyone was just like, oh yeah, and I was just like, oh fuck.
Yeah,
but yeah, it's nice to have people come by, and obviously it's nice to have a reason for a bunch of cool beers to be sort of put together and dropped out. Yeah.
Oh, cool. I wish I could have made it down, but it's a very busy weekend. So I'll have to make it for 3. You guys got to make it at least until 3. So come down next year.
We'll do what we can.
Well, in about I'll definitely be down there in a little over a month, coming up with the USF game down there. So I'll pretend it's the 2-year anniversary, and I'll come down and enjoy some beers.
Yeah, I think I'm gone for that, right? When is that?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure you're gone. We've discussed it before. September 11th.
11th, yeah, I'm in Colorado.
Yeah. But I'll come down and drink some beers and pretend that it's the 2-year anniversary.
Yeah. It's an easy Uber over to the stadium from the brewery, so It's not a bad jumping off spot. What time's the game at?
I think I want to say they had it at 12, but they maybe pushed it to 1. And it's gonna be tough, especially with the amount of alcohol that's gonna be drunk. It's gonna be rough.
Yeah, you might need to just come on in Friday night.
Yeah, I think that was probably the plan. If I came by on this Saturday, I think it'd have to be after the game, right?
Yeah.
Go back.
Well, depends. I mean,
go to the hotel. Go to the hotel. Take a shower. Drink some water and some Gatorade and some Pedialyte or whatever, and then and then head out over there. Probably.
Yeah, man. Make your way over. What else has been going on? What'd you put on our docket for tonight? What incredibly important information must we tell these people here tonight?
Well, we got to talk about sports a little bit. We got the
Ooh.
Olympics. We got some conference expansion. National Mead Day coming up on Saturday. If you're at all interested in meads, that's your day to go celebrate one of the oldest.
I love mead. I mean, I love some mead.
Yeah.
Kind of like anything else.
I love the idea of mead as much as I love actual mead, the way it's pulled off by some people.
It's kind of, to me, mead is similar to how I feel about port. I don't usually want it, but it fits every once in a while. It fits for something, and that doesn't make it, not quality. That's my thing. Some people love it. I mean, some people, they want to drink the sweeter things, and so they go that route, and that's great.
There's something out there in the world of drinking for everybody.
Yep.
So, I haven't had one in a mead in, I don't know, at least over a year, if not longer.
We always have session meads on. I mean, they call them session meads, but they're about 6.5%, and they're pretty easy drinking. Usually are fruited, and it's a pretty nice experience versus some of these.
It's like the bee nectar, kill all the golfers, or I forget what the other one that's real big from them is, but
they
got a bunch of them. But
it's just a bunch of them. Most of the places tend to want to major in these, 13% peanut butter jelly meads, and I'm just like, I don't,
There's that place that's up from Anchorage. Forget. There was one that I went to when I was last down there with my friend Ty.
There's one over there in Tampa Heights, Garage East. It's a cool spot.
That might have been where we went.
Yeah.
So, anyway. Why don't you, we can talk about what we're drinking tonight real quickly.
Drinking this doppelbock from Three Sons.
Called Innoculator. Yeah. It's hard to say.
Innoculator. What is that?
I don't know. But it's got a ram wearing a doctor's lab coat, a stethoscope, and holding a.
Are they saying that if you drink this, then you will be free from sickness?
I mean, it's got to be true, right? Seems to make sense to me.
That's interesting. All right. Yeah. Okay. Well, what do you think?
What'd you say? These are about 6 months aged.
Yep.
I haven't had a doppelbock in quite a long time. And having a little bit of age on them always gives them a little bit of a unique flavor. This is the first time I've ever had this particular one. I don't usually see a ton of Three Sons just sitting around on the shelf up here. I see some, but so when I grabbed it, I didn't even look at what kind of beer it was, honestly. I just snagged it up, and I've already drank a couple of them. And then we are down to the last two of the 4-pack I bought. So
I feel like this would be a very good food beer, like Thanksgiving dinner program.
It's like a little bit more flavorful of a it's like Yinling with flavor, more flavor. It's got that kind of like earthiness to it, but a little bit more, obviously, of the alcohol maltiness, a little bit stronger.
Yeah, a little.
I'd let you know what it smells like, but I'm a little congested right now, so I can't tell.
It's got a nice aroma, malty, little caramel. Body might be a little thin, little tinny. Normally doppelbock. We had a doppelbock. Joe made a doppelbock as a homebrew for one of our pilot beers for before we were open when we were doing shows, and about a half a slim of it ended up in our cooler and was there for like a year, and we put it on tap and it was absolutely dynamite. So they should age like a doppelbock as long as it's, if
it's made well at the start.
The process is the problem. The real problem is canning process. So you just sometimes never know what you get in that packaging process. But a doppelbock should
age well.
Should live pretty good for as long as it's cold, it should live for a long time.
Yeah.
And so I would prefer a little more body here, but it's got a nice malty flavor. It's got those components.
Yeah, it could have a little bit more, and that's why I'm trying to remember the last time I had a doppelbock, honestly, and the flavors. I just don't see a lot of doppelbocks out there on draft, so it's not something I seek out. It's not something I avoid. But yeah,
that's why we're here. We got to try all the styles.
Yeah,
I'm a big fan of doppelbock. I also think that a great barrel aged beer would be a doppelbock.
I could see that.
This would be good in rum or in tequila, rum or whiskey.
Tequila would be weird.
Tequila would be weird. Well, and Añejo might be interesting.
Maybe.
But
last doppelbock I probably had was Weinstefaner Corbinian. And I remember really liking that one.
Yeah, they do.
So
they do beer.
Yeah, they beer good.
Well, good. It's a good one here to sip on. So what do we dive into first?
Well,
we dive into, you know what? I actually, go ahead. There's some stuff just came out about, it's actually kind of a follow-up on the tons of the trends in alcohol sales.
Oh yeah.
Let me find it here. Aaron put it up here on. Okay, here it is. Yeah. It was a year-over-year beer segment index, or a purchasing index for all segments, and so in the index, an index of 50 plus in a segment means volumes in that segment are expanding, and in an index below 50 indicates the volumes in that segment are contracting, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so it's a July 20 versus July 21, and overall, the numbers for 2021 are, I'm going to go through probably 4 different versions, okay?
Okay.
In the total market for everything, numbers are down slightly from 2020, but still well above 50. In imports, 2021 is above what was selling in 2020. And I think that is in part because a lot of imports rely on on-premise sales, and on-premise sales were much less in 2020 since stuff was closed. But the interesting thing is that overall the numbers are better in 2021 for imports.
Yeah.
The number for craft is also better, of course, because of on-premise. And we're hovering right at 50. So craft is just sort of where it was, where it is, what it is.
Which honestly, in that kind of years, it's not all bad. I mean, if you
even there's some places that haven't been open for all of 2021, or and we're only talking about July to July. Premium lights as you can imagine, last year were high. They are down quite a bit, but still above 50. So those are still expanding too. Premium regular is getting hammered right now. So if you're not a Miller Lite or a Bud Light, like, for example, MGD or Budweiser, these beers are getting hammered, and they are probably at a 25 on the index right now.
Yeah, it looks like it's maybe 30, but about 25, 30.
Yeah. And now FMBs and seltzers. Okay, so FMB, fruited malt beverage seltzer, which the number from 2020 is nearing 100 on the index. That's incredible. It is experiencing the largest drop of any segment year over year, which is interesting. However, it is still as high as or above any of the other segments in overall market share.
Yeah.
And then
cider is about the only thing that's in the same realm.
I hate to say it, but cider was dead. Cider is dead. Cider. I don't know what to say. I mean, cider is awesome. It's just it's probably like a little bit more. It's a little bit more valuable on a day-to-day basis than mead is. Yeah.
So, I'd say some of the it's filling some of the same marketplace, at least realm, as some of these seltzers. And the seltzers are, I feel like, more broadly accessible because they're not just always this sugar bomb where it's hard to get I've had some ciders that aren't just overly sweet, and they really had to do some work, and seltzers kind of do some of that fruited, but other flavors more interesting than just apple and with some other fruit mixed into it.
Yeah, I think that cider is technically a wine, and I believe that the wine, and we're talking about beer here, so they're going to put cider in it. It's not. It's a fermented fruit, and so is mead. Technically, as fermented honey is considered a wine, but wine obviously is fermented fruit. I believe there is a large market out there for variations of fermented fruit, and it'll be interesting. Some of that's being hit now with the there's the wine spritzer drinks.
Yeah.
So they're a lot of these cocktail drinks, a lot of these spritzer drinks, this is becoming a thing. And I think also that's why you see a huge retraction in the hard seltzer category, because the high noons of the world are going ballistic. There's gin drinks, there's tequila drinks, there's margaritas out there. There's all these things that now are beginning to follow in that vacuum. And to be perfectly fair, I can't remember if we said this last time, but High Noon is a better product than all of the big beer hard seltzers that I've had.
Yeah, we talked about that because we talked about Boston Beer Company. They fell far short of their predicted consumption and sales, and it really hammered their stock price when they released the actual sales of Truly.
So I was in ABC talking to their craft buy team for the state. They're going to dip their toes into CBD now, so we're going to get our seltzer in there hopefully.
Nice.
But we talked about that, and he was like, "Man," he's like, "High Noon, it's just incredible." And I go, "You know what? When we have a second, I'm going to get some data from you, because they've got 120 some stores or whatever statewide." Yeah. I'm like, at some point, I'm going to need to get that data, because that's a big enough sample that I think it would be pretty reflective across the countries.
Yeah.
So I was like, God, but he was like, yeah, it's unbelievable. There's a name for those. I can't remember what they're called. like FMB. You know, there's like an acronym. I can't remember what it is. But anyway, I saw that. I thought that was interesting as a follow up to our Boston Beer Company. You know, craft is what it is. Obviously, not having tap rooms open really hurt it. I think that it's going to continue to expand in its market only because craft brands will become to be more mainstream, and they'll just continue to chip into these premium lights and premium beers. They won't, they won't probably ever overtake those, but generation over generation, like I got to be honest, if I'm 70 years old and I got a choice between Miller Lite and West Tampa Light, you know where you're choosing. Yeah. And so I think over time, I think those places, they might be in big trouble because the consumers for like our generation is significantly, we still a ton of us people in my generation that buy premium lights. There's no question. But I think that even the generation below me, I think it's going to be less. Yeah, it's going to keep shifting. They're going to be buying. They'll buy Truly or White Claw before they buy Miller Lite. If they're going to drink beer, they're going to drink good beer. If they're going to drink they're going to drink seltzer. And I don't I don't blame them. I think I probably feel similar.
I'd probably do something similar if I was going back to that like time frame too. Yeah.
If you think about right now, if you're like, shit, I got a tailgate all day today, what am I going to drink? I might drink High Noon. And I'm not kidding. It's 4.5%. Vodka's clean. It tastes way better than a half cold Bud Light, Miller Lite.
Yeah. You really gotta work through those Miller Lights when it's that hot outside. Give it any more than 15 minutes and you have this like lukewarm to like slightly warm from your hand and the ambient temperature, and you're just like get down to like this much if you slow down for a little bit, and you're just gotta
after those first like real like 6-7-ish like real gulps. After that, it's like, oof.
Like, can I get these in 10-ounce cans?
Yeah.
Well, actually, right before we hopped on, I saw this tweet. Said according to Molson Coors, they're shuttering the following brands: Milwaukee's Best Premium, Mickey's Fine Malt. I go through all these, Keystone Ice, which,
Hey, listen, name them all, because these are fucking legendary brands, okay?
Okay, so
Milwaukee's
Best, Mickey's Fine Malt Liquor, Henry Weinhard's Private Reserve, Keystone Ice, Ham's Special Light, Key Light Full, Ice House Edge, Magnum, Miller High Life Light, Steel Reserve, 211, Old English.
Dude, I mean, those are some freaking really, really legacy brands.
I drank a lot of these brands when I was in the Army. I drank a lot of almost all of those. Because the gas station right near my apartment, just off base. So it was just like
Mickey's, OE, Ice House, Keystone, Ham's. I mean, I think Ham's is technically Minnesota beer is where it's from. Ham's is all over the state of Minnesota. Mm-hmm. I mean, those are Milwaukee's Best, dude. God damn, those are some legacy brands. That's I wonder if that means they're going to discontinue. They won't be made anymore.
I suppose not.
Yeah, but it's a cold world. If you don't,
maybe one day we'll see them make a comeback. Never know.
There's not a whole lot of PBRs out there. Okay, I mean PBR was led for dead, and it found a renaissance because it had a punk history and
it was always
hipster history, and obviously it's cheap.
Tall Boys before Tall Boys were like insanely popular across craft beer and others. I mean, you just didn't really get to go to a bar and get better than 12 ounces in package. You'd have to go on draft to get a shaker pint of something, and then you're paying whatever your draft price is. But yeah, PBR is definitely a little bit of a special breed. I still drink it every week, so
Yeah. Oh fuck! I do not drink PBR, but I respect it. I respect it for
$2 PBRs all day, every day at Mother's Pub in Gainesville.
wow. Well,
Rest in peace to those brands.
that's crazy, man.
Had some good times with them.
We used to have 40 night. Well, they didn't say they're discontinuing Mickey's Ice, did they? Mickey's, what did it say? Fine premium malt liquor?
Yeah. He said, for all you people freaking about Mickey's, it's Mickey's fine malt liquor, not the core brand. So that's
okay. Yeah, Mickey's Ice is going to be around.
That's okay. That's better. He didn't format the tweet super perfectly well, but a lot of that has to do with character limits. I'm sure it was just, right. Do I put another comma in here? Do I add this extra thing, or do I get them all in this one tweet? But
yeah,
still some stuff I've drank in there.
Yeah, we used to have. I used to usually put down a 40 after a ball game in college. My freshman sophomore years, I'd go to the homie spot. I'd just get 140 in, and then the rest of the night was smooth sailing.
Me and
I could talk to any girl I wanted. I could drink whatever I wanted. It didn't matter.
I used to when I was in the Army. When I lived in that apartment that I mentioned. My roommate Nick. We both were in the same battalion, but different companies in the battalion. He was a truck driver. I was communications. So we would sporadically get off on Fridays at different times. Not like much different, but like one of us gets let go at 4, the other one leaves at 4:30. And we had this deal. Whoever is the first one off, just has to text, hey, I'm off, going to the gas station. Because there's a gas station you turn into our apartment complex. There's a gas station right there. And whoever got off first went in, got 2 Colt 45 40s for both of us. And we usually didn't drink them both in the same night. One for Friday, one for Saturday. Yeah. And that was the weekend starter package right there. So
it's so great. And the other thing about 40s that are great is that by design. Well, wait a minute. Were you in Florida?
I was in Georgia.
Okay, so you had 40s.
Yeah, 40s, not 32s.
32s here, but by design, the bottles, there were a couple variations. There were a couple largemouths that came out. Hurricane went largemouth. There were a couple other, but OE and Colt 45 particularly were smallmouth, 40s. So you have to drink those fast. And it's hard to drink them fast because they're not designed to just be easily drank.
They're not the most easy drinking.
No. Well, yeah, they don't taste great, and it's you got this whole big chunky bottle trying to come out this tiny little mouth, and so you have to drink them fast, and just by drinking something fast, you're going to be drunker quicker. So even if it's Miller Lite, if you had a 40 of it and you pounded it, you'd be drunker faster.
Yeah.
Oh, it's brilliant. Brilliant.
But those were good times. I miss those days. I don't miss being in the Army, but I miss those days hanging out and doing stuff like that as a mid-20s type of person.
Yeah, with no real responsibilities.
No responsibilities. I wasn't married, didn't have any kids. It was just.
I think there's honestly, yeah, I don't even know. I'm not going to say it. I'll get myself in trouble. Speaking of tailgating or drinking in football, what happened last week with the SEC?
So the SEC, when we talked about it last week, Oklahoma and Texas basically told the Big 12 they weren't going to renew their media rights beyond 2025. And then the next step was for them to petition the SEC and say, hey, we want to join. And then the SEC had to vote. And all those things happened. The SEC voted 14-0 to accept both schools. I'm sure there was some arm twisting going on with Texas A&M, but ultimately, in the end, they decided that it was better for it's kind of like how you have a symbolic vote after you already have enough votes to pass something, just to see if you can get
Texas A&M was the DeAndre Hopkins of tweeting last week, talking about I'm going to retire if I got to fucking get a vaccine. And then 2 days later, he's like, after further review, I think I'm going to do it because somebody said you're not going to get your fucking money. And
you're not going to get whatever your signing bonus that you got on the last one or whatever the case may be.
Told you to fall in line, and you did.
So here's the thing. So like some conferences have, the grant of rights or some sort of penalty fee to leave. I don't believe the SEC has anything like that. I think the SEC, outside of like, the current like contract, I think they're just always like, we'll just go find somebody else if someone wants to leave. And so if there was ever any real threat from Texas A&M about it, I'm pretty sure the SEC would be like,
you can go.
All right. Bye. Like, go join the Big Ten.
Like the SEC, they always wouldn't have preferred Texas over Texas A&M anyway. They can't say that, but obviously.
I'm sure if Texas was a real possibility back then when that was happening, Texas and Oklahoma instead of Texas A&M and Missouri, like if those were like both of those pairs were on the table, but you could only take one or the other, clearly
joke.
Texas and Oklahoma would have been in the SEC for the last 9 years and not Texas A&M and Missouri.
Yeah.
And sorry if you're a Texas A&M fan or a Missouri fan out there, but you know what I'm saying is true. And I'm happy enough to have them all. Like,
yeah, I'm here for the Florida State Clemson.
Yeah,
fucking showing up in there. I mean, look, Florida, the SEC already has markets in Florida and South Carolina, but I think that's not at this point. That's not the only thing that matters because if the ACC, well, first of all, if the ACC loses Florida State, it's worth nothing. If the ACC loses Clemson, it's worth nothing. If it loses both, it's worth less than nothing.
It's basically like where the Big 12 is now.
Yeah. So that what the SEC stands to lose is if Big Ten comes calling, and ultimately, again, this goes back to what I just said last week. I was wrong last week about the seriousness of the rumor because we didn't know. But
when I first got texted by someone saying this, I was like, no way.
Well, I was like, okay, I mean, I hear this all the time. It takes a while. And again, it does take a while. It's obviously, 2025 is when they can leave. I think that there'll be some things that shake out between now and then. But
yeah,
ultimately, we're looking at a group of 50 teams-ish. I know there are about 65 Power Fives. Is that right?
Yeah, I think 65 might be right.
I don't think they all last, but that's just I'm just guessing. There's about 50 to 60 teams here who I think are going to find their own way forward without the NCAA. And so however that ends up happening, I still believe there will be conferences. I think honestly, that's a tough one to know, but I think, and so, if you had four 20-team conferences that potted, that probably makes the most sense. And that's pretty rad. And if you're SEC, you want Florida State and Clemson in your league so that they're not in the Big Ten. And because then you get Big Ten real access to the state of Florida and the Southeast, really. And
I think in the last, just 10 years since the last, round of conference expansions, the amount of streaming and that mindset of making your money, it doesn't have to be in the traditional cable mold, especially as more and more people, cut cord. Like, we don't have any sort of cable or satellite here at our house. Now we do at our rental place, and so we use the login from DirecTV to use the apps from all these different things. Yeah. But at some point there's going to be this, and what I've been, waiting for a long time, and ESPN Plus is kind of the first step of that evolution, is truly being able to buy a subscription package to just digitally. So you don't have to tie it to any sort of cable service or satellite service or any sort of traditional kind of TV model. And streaming numbers, schools get big overseas and in random areas that with streaming, you can make some money off of that kind of broader appeal. Whereas like some of the stuff that you're not going to be able to like even show it in some of these countries just because of like various rights and broadcast rights and stuff. So streaming is going to be that kind of what I think is the next big phase, which is why I don't think too many schools in one state, especially states that are as populated and as big as Florida, Texas, California.
If you're the SEC, you would want to keep as many of those players in your league as possible, too. Yeah. That's the other thing, because you know that the majority of the players who are desired in the state of Florida are high-end players. Like, you want those kinds of players to stay in your league, too. And plus, I mean, look, I said, I think it might be 2 or 3 years ago now, maybe more, that I said, I'm not sure why somebody doesn't sign a deal for their football season to be on Netflix or on Prime. Like, and I know that you can't watch live TV Netflix. Well, they can fucking figure that out. You know what I mean? Like, you can. But I'm like, Twitter. And then people are like, well, wait a minute.
Twitter showed live games. Amazon showed live games.
They do.
Netflix already has the backbone of technology to be able to show live games. It would I saw a gaming streamer say, I mean, probably tongue in cheek to a certain extent, but it was the first time I thought about it. He's like, hey, he used to stream with Twitch. He has, several million, followers on YouTube. He's like, hey, Netflix, reach out. Let's start Netflix gaming streaming.
Yeah.
And I was like, holy shit, I never thought about that. Like, that could totally work. And it's the same type of thing with sports. I was like, you already have the interface already. You can use the same style of interface and just have the sports or whatever.
With the response, I remember what people were like, well, but then you're going to lose eyeballs because you need to be a buyer. And I'm like, hey, wait a minute. I don't ESPN's still going to get the highlights. Highlights are still going to be up and down the fucking Twitter feed. I said, Florida State doesn't care if a few less people are watching, if Netflix is paying the number they need them to pay.
I mean, Netflix is
enough people watch. It's just that's a silly comment. Like, look, I get it. Not as many people are watching Netflix as are watching ABC. You know what I mean? Or have access to it. I understand, but that if your team and you give a shit is on fucking Netflix, you're gonna get Netflix.
It's the same thing I do with and we sometimes we sign up for a certain thing. Like, oh, we want to watch this one show. It's available here. We'll sign up for a month, pay $7, watch 2 seasons that are out and then cancel. And I mean, Netflix it's dropped a little bit, but in the US and it's grown from 2013 to 28 million to 74 million. So even just it's not a small company, and
and then a team would
the resources.
A team would probably gain some followers because they would be on and nobody else would be, and people would be like, damn, there's a live ball game on Netflix. All right, well, who's playing? It's the only team. I mean, obviously, if a league did a deal, that would be great too, but I think those kinds of plays are out there.
Tier 3 type of rights, even if it was some I'd watch some random sports. I do it with ESPN. I just never know when anything's on. And I
watch Florida State softball. I watch girls soccer. I watch baseball. If I could, and this is another one, Florida and Texas and California. If I could, I would definitely watch track because Florida State has a fantastic track team. I would do it. I love track. They're not on TV, and I can't do it. I wish that they had something even like a Longhorn Network, because I would watch those sports. And I think that some of the schools who have look, Florida State list of schools or sports isn't like Stanford's list, which is huge. And some of the Big Ten schools have a legitimate, long list of Olympic sports. But I also think that could water down the eyeballs too. Like the list of sports that Florida State have, women's volleyball is usually competitive. Obviously the basketballs, baseball, softball, those things, they're usually competitive. And there's not that many that they could be on. And I think people would watch them. From a streaming standpoint, I mean, I read the numbers for didn't Florida State just lose? They just lost in the championship series of the softball, right?
I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah. So the numbers of viewers for that, the softball World Series was incredible. Like it was by far their best showing, and it was better than a ton of other sports. And
the nice thing about if softball in general, like just across like NCAA, and this is a tangent that I don't think needs to be like a long discussion on a streaming service like that. Softball is very entertaining to watch.
It is.
It's very fast paced.
Yep.
The games don't last forever. It's like I'm not a huge baseball fan because of the speed of the game, but softball is very entertaining and it goes by real quick, and it's just a fun sport to watch.
It is. It's set up really well. Baseball is going to be too macho. I don't know if macho is the word, but they're going to be too traditionalist because, but 7-inning games in college is plenty, and softball games, like you said, is. I could argue a couple changes would be dope, but softball is fast paced. And, I think that baseball could take college baseball could take a few cues. Well, pro baseball too. Those games take 4 hours. Could take a few cues from softball, and I think it would be more entertaining. I also think that, well, I got to think about this, but I know from watching it, at least in person, that in the state of Florida now, women's flag football is a high school sport that wins. That plays for a state championship. Mm-hmm. And I got a good buddy here whose teams won 2 out of the last 3 out of high school here. These girls, they coach the little flag football leagues that my kid's doing now, and they're awesome. They're fun to watch. They're really fun to watch. Flag football is fun to watch, and the girls are freaking good. Like all these girls are volleyball players and basketball players.
Athletic.
And they crush. And that is fun to watch because it is fast paced. It's, the field is smaller. There's not a ton of players. There's not it's not a ton of contact. So it's not like people are laying down every play. It is fast paced. And I mean, I don't want to degrade anybody, but I watched the women's Final Four and I watched the championship game, and it was tough to watch. Mm-hmm. I wish I could do a couple things to women's basketball because I think I can make it super fun to watch too, but it was really tough to watch. And I know that these are really good athletes, and still, I think with flag football that it would men, and when I say people, I mean men, because I think women will watch. Men, I think, would watch women's flag football because it's fun. I mean, it's fun, honestly. And if they had that at the college level, those fun women, yes,
it'd be fun.
I think it'd be really fun. It'd be quick too. Those games are quick. And then that's a tangent, but we're talking about streaming, and so really, like, how can you put together a package for schools if you're talking about conference affiliation? How can you put together packages of streaming? That are of value,
and have, because any sort of deal like that, like it's not like the streaming service is gonna get these schools to sign a contract that's 1 year long, and then they can cancel it like they do a TV show. So they would have to really want to commit some time into it. And that's going to be like the step. I think the likely company that may try to get themselves into this is honestly going to be Amazon. They're already getting into content creation a lot more, and having sports. They've done Thursday night football games before, and they've had some other events on there. So I think they're looking for that real big opportunity to really embrace it. So it'd be interesting to see if some school does some sort of tier 3 rights thing with them of a larger name type of thing, or if any conferences at some point start going having those discussions.
I mean, I think it's fun, and I think that you would find more advocates, both at the coaching level and at the like student and parent level, because of NLI deals. So if my daughter can get on TV playing lacrosse, well, lacrosse isn't a good one because you can't see their faces, but you know what I mean. Like, there's real value there, and I think even enough of a leg to stand on to say, hey, you guys have the ability to do this, and it can be valuable for you too.
It could be a valuable property. And if you're the first one to do it and you do it well, it sets you up to make other deals of the sort.
So I like Florida State's group of sports. Like, that's a good chunk. And I, obviously you wish that you had stuff, but like if you're Penn State, dude, like people don't want to watch crew, and people don't want to watch fencing, and people don't like, no offense, And by the way,
I've
crew is
in the Olympics to watch some of these types of things, and I just have no idea what's going on.
No, crew is an incredible sport.
And I do wish that some of these sports I could like get kind of more knowledge about them. I know I had no idea like what rugby was about. It just looked interesting, and I was at the bar, Gainesville House of Beer, before it closed down, and the bartender there, he played rugby like in a like local like team, and they played other like little small local teams, and so he really explained it to me. I was like, oh, okay, that makes a lot of sense. But like some of these sports, if you don't know and you don't feel like putting in the effort, it's kind of hard to get really into them. You have to like, there needs to be some sort of tutorial to let people know what stuff is about in order to really get
and like I'm about ready to walk over here and live stream Allison Phoenix in her heat run here for the 400. But like how much we love track in the Olympics, and even the World Championships gets on TV. But so the appetite for that level of athleticism and sport exists.
Yeah, I mean, look at swimming. It's another example.
Yeah.
Like, especially
although I will tell you this, swim meets are fucking fun. Okay, like if you just went to like a competitive swim meet, that shit's fun.
I find like a lot of live sports are a lot more fun than I expected, even if I knew nothing about it going in. But there's generally at those types of sports, there's people to tell you, so you can be like, hey, so wait a minute, and then they'll be like, oh, so here's what's going on. And you're like, oh, okay, cool. It's different than watching at a bar or being at your house and trying to watch and figure things out, because there's people that actually care about that particular sport that are hanging out at that sporting event. You can just ask as many questions and generally get some pretty good answers. But like these sports, they have their niche only because of the coverage. Like they're a niche sport or an Olympic sport, as it were, not necessarily niche, but because the only time you can actively really see them is that when you get to that kind of world stage or even like really big national stage. Before you can really find anywhere to watch it. So it kind of makes it tough to grow the audience when all you see is like either a couple clips on Twitter or the national championship or like the US championships in whatever sport it is will be on TV, but then like the other 11 months of the year you have no idea how you can even watch anything.
I know that if I am turning the channels and I see track and field and I go there and I can tell that it's a meet that's at Prefontaine's, like the Oregon's track stadium. Like I stop and watch. I'm like, ooh, this must be something.
It's a big one. It's got to be a big one if it's in Oregon.
Yeah, and it's usually trials or Prefontaine Classic or one of these other big meets, and so I think that's fun. I mean, in the Olympics, we can talk about the Olympics too. I mean, the Olympics being across the globe really lose its luster, and I think I'm interested in seeing what the viewership is, of these games, because I haven't been able to watch a lot of it because none of it's on when I want, and it comes across Twitter when it happens, and so then I just see it, and then I'm like, I know what's up. And
my issue was like I said, I don't have cable or satellite, so I've been trying to watch it through the app, and the app is not real intuitive. Like I can go look at the schedule and try to figure out, but I just can't tell when things are supposed to be on the app. And I've been able to watch some things. I watched some swimming, some gymnastics, and it was just hard for me to find things. So I just kind of stopped and I just started looking stuff up.
Yeah.
And I would look at like the app I can find after things have happened. I can be like, well, who placed where in this, and then I can find the highlight of it. But
So
like, I haven't watched like any of the like really much of the swimming live.
So I'm watching track right now. Allison Felix just ran. I'm pretty sure, okay? I'm pretty sure that she's running, that it's live. Yeah, it is. It says live. Okay, so it's like noon there right now, right?
Something like that.
Because it's, it's a totally different time, and that makes life really tough. I know they got to put the Olympics in all these other countries.
10:04 a.m. in Tokyo right now.
How much? What time?
10:04.
Okay, so what is that?
That's
13 hours in front of us.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that makes that makes things a little tough. And it makes the storylines don't mean less because they do get all over Twitter at any point in the time of the day. But it just this Olympics in general, I don't like watching sports with no fans at it. I think it's ridiculous that there's no fans at the sporting event. I know what's happening with COVID. I think that it's nonsense that there's 0 people in a fucking 70,000 seat stadium. And I think it's also nonsense that parents weren't allowed to go and families and shit. So like, it's hard for me to watch. It was hard for me to watch the NFL last year. It was hard for me I enjoyed watching college football because you know why? There were at least a few fucking bodies there. And there was enough energy for there to be, we talked about Florida A&M game. Like there was enough at some of these games for there to be an energy for me to go.
That felt like a sporting event.
Yeah. I like that. And so this is nonsense. I know it's not. I was telling my wife this yesterday. We were watching beach volleyball, and it's just like then they pan out, and there's nobody there. Listen,
as an athlete, it has to be tricky.
You are motivated. You are self-motivated, and you want to crush the person across from you, whether there's 100,000 people there or nobody. Okay, but there is, and when you're in the battle of your competition, you do call on adrenaline. Now, of course, that happens generally, but when there is an energy and the crowd provides that, there is an adrenaline that's called on that you can physically call on that you can't do it otherwise because it doesn't exist otherwise. And so I will be shocked if any legitimate world records are broken in track. Okay. Shocked. Not like a fucking 10,000 meter, something like whatever, but like
a 100 meter,
1, 2, 4 hurdles, 110 hurdle, like all these races, 4x1, like any of this shit, I will be shocked. And the swimming played that out too. There were very few World Series or world records, and those people are freaking in the water most of the time, but they can feel that in a swimming swimming meet that's full
in the air.
Yes. And that's why I think Caeleb Dressel, I think what he did is really special because, and he talked about it. He talked about how he just wants to get away now for a while because that level of drain, he had to just be in his own brain, in his own lane, and just being an animal by himself with no one there to love on him. And dude, this is not easy to do. Nobody plays anything ever to just be by themselves. People want to be cheered. People want to be amongst an energy in competition. And so it's so unnatural. And I think really impressive of him to just dial in and do it. And, that doesn't say anything for, Biles and people who had their issues and different shit at all. It's just, it says something about him and a really weird setting that he dominated in.
I would say
foremost.
Obviously a lot of props to him. There's our Florida man story of this week is Caeleb Dressel, a little bit up the ways from me here. But did you watch the long distance swimming, the 800 and the 1500, the men's?
Yeah. Thinky.
I like when I watched and I knew already, like you were saying, like you see it on Twitter, you're like, oh, okay, cool. You watch like a 15-second clip and it's like the last leg of it, and you're like, oh, okay. But even knowing that he won the 800 and came back from being in fourth or fifth, halfway through the last stretch, the last 50, I still watched it and it still kind of blew my mind that he had that much energy to go from fourth within 20 meters to winning right at the end.
Those guys are. I mean, the 800 look like. It's hard to really imagine what swimming the 800 and the mile is like, because I think a lot of us kind of understand what it's like, what it looks like on the track. And even most people don't understand what that's like to do it, but it happens pretty quick, right? It's over in a minute and 50 seconds or whatever. And so, but in a swim, it's a fucking bear, and for those athletes, they've got to be in this almost hallucinogenic place, by the end of that, where they just, again, call on something and they don't feel the energy in that stadium right now. And that's really what was impressive about him at the end of that, is he knew it was it.
It was like a self, he had to draw, you have to draw the energy from within yourself at that point.
Yeah. After swimming 750 meters.
And at that point when he took over that last little bit, he probably only had 20 meters left, maybe 25. It was a little bit beyond halfway up. So even 775, it was pretty crazy. And then the 1500 was kind of the same way. He got to he wasn't as far back. I think he was right 2 and 3, kind of in that kind of range the whole time. And then he kicked it into another gear and just smoked him by a full body length.
He had that one lined up pretty good. I think the announcer said, they're like, boy, if they're not, or they said if he's even close to these guys coming up on these last two lengths, it's going to be a problem.
Yeah, I mean, so it's with him, I guess it's got to be kind of the opposite of Dressel, because what they kept talking about with Dressel was his first 15 and how efficient he is coming off the starting and that dive and that initial 15 meters just underwater, and how much of a lead he gets on people. I guess with Finke, it's just the opposite. He's just don't let me be right here.
Well, yeah, and obviously very, very different races. If you don't have a fucking start,
it's all about and you see it in track too. It's all about pacing on those long distance ones. You gotta pace yourself appropriately so that you don't burn all your energy at the start, and you have that last
In swimming, it's really about efficiency and technique, because if you don't have that in those races, then you will burn that energy. You know what I mean? So if you're not if you're not efficient in the water, then that's going to be a problem. For the 50 though, that listening to the replay is pretty awesome. Caeleb Dressel, he didn't take a breath.
Yeah.
So this is fast twitch muscle fibers explosion. If you don't have it, you don't have it. And that, that's
that's not taking a breath for, what was it, 22 seconds?
20 seconds, yeah.
21, 22 seconds. It's
But that's a lot easier to do when you got that kind of adrenaline, because he doesn't need the crowd for that one.
And obviously he's been swimming for a long time, so his lung capacity is not like former smoker, heavy drinker me.
No.
So there's a difference. He's
ready for it.
He's conditioned. He knew what he was getting into.
Yeah. I wanna touch on Simone Biles real quick, because I'm a pretty mentally tough advocate type of person. I love seeing people
overcome,
really grind and make it happen. I think it's extremely inspiring. But I grew up in a competitive women's gymnastics gym. My father was a national championship coach. I grew up here. These women who are gymnasts at the collegiate or elite levels, they are the most mentally tough athletes that there are. I don't think that I think for maybe other athletes that they might be able to imagine, but I don't know that even they could imagine how difficult it is to be a gymnast. They are banged up like fucking football players all the time. This woman who went out here and won the silver medal in the vault the other night, dude, she's got 2 banged up heels and ankles with tape jobs while she's running, flying across a horse and landing on them. You know what I mean? Like, and she's doing that because she cares. Simone Biles doesn't have anything to prove, okay? And if she, I was upset for a second because of the messaging, and I didn't understand. And I was like, damn, man, if she was that messed up, then she cost another woman a spot on the team. And that's kind of messed up because we got really good gymnasts that didn't make the team that are deserving. But what you don't understand, people, is she's throwing tricks that have never been thrown before, ever. Mm-hmm. And if she's not right, she's going to kill herself. Yeah. She didn't kill herself in that vault because she's probably one of the best athletes there ever has been.
Yeah, one of the best of all time in any sport.
And it's like, you've seen Chuck Knobloch pick up a ball, dribble over to him at shortstop, and have him toss it 20 feet in front of him on the ground. Everyone has seen players in other sports get the yips and understand, okay? Mm-hmm. And I just feel like people just need to they don't have to have empathy because they can't. They don't know. Mm-hmm. They just need to understand that she for the first time in her life probably got scared. And mm-hmm. and what does she have to prove to us? She's the greatest that there's ever been. And quite honestly, it's going to be a really long time before there's someone as great as her because of the combination of physical skills and physical talent. And so I can't get down with it. I have questions too, and I would love to have a conversation with her. But there's nothing about what happened to me that she's gotten a fair shake about with a lot of these people,
because especially people that don't understand anything about it. I don't claim to understand anything really about gymnastics on that kind of level either.
But like calling her like, this is so, dude, there isn't a tougher sport, okay? There isn't, and women don't get the benefit of the doubt when it comes to toughness. For many reasons, they don't play contact sports or collisions. They don't play collision sports, hockey, obviously. And rugby, but when stuff we're watching on a regular basis. But this is incredibly physically demanding, and you don't see it because it's once every 4 years. But these are gymnasts, college gymnasts. Florida has a fantastic gymnastics team. There is, it is an absolute battle for these girls, and these are kids. Of all the sports out there, these are fucking kids. Yeah.
And she's
an old one.
She's like
24,
on the far older than most of them. Yeah, 15, 16-year-olds out there, and then they get 2 Olympics, and then they kind of move on, let someone else. And she's just so good that she kind of overcame that kind of like age barrier that normally exists in it. But my thing with it is I'm having had my own mental health issues, and dealing with that, like I'm not going to ever criticize someone for at any time. Like these things happen. I've had panic attacks before, and it just comes out of nowhere, and it's illogical, and I'm not even doing anything, like I'm not doing anything like that. And she said, she kind of like lost her positioning in the air. That would be terrifying. Like, I remember one time I was in the pool, I was standing, and I had just like gone down, but I was wearing like a t-shirt, and the t-shirt like went over my head, and I kind of waterboarded myself, and I like panicked and couldn't get my shirt off my face, and was like, and I wasn't even doing anything. I was just, a 12-year-old in the pool, and that freaked me out. So like,
oh yeah, no,
like, and I had no idea, like other than being able to stand up, I had no clue which way was up or down. Like, and I wasn't flying through the air, rotating.
No.
So
I don't honestly know how they do it. Like
that's one of the gifts they're born with, is that spatial sense.
I fancy myself as a pretty good athlete. I played a ton of sports at all state and all American levels, different stuff. I dove all the way through middle school. Okay, so I swam and dove, and I know how tough it is because I always felt like I wasn't that good. I could do like double fronts and shit off the diving board, but even then I was like waiting. I was like, should I come out now? Is it time yet? Like I never was good at it. I never understood it really. And so when I watch these girls, obviously the men are fantastic gymnasts too, but when I watch the girls, because I'm more attached to women's gymnastics from my upbringing, I can't believe how they do it. And so to have a crack in the armor, so to speak, that happens. And I mean, look at did you see the vault? Did you see the vault? So you saw the other American totally choke. Did you see that? Where she took, all of a sudden she just stopped running, took all those choppy steps and shit the bed. You see that? Yeah. Man, I just felt terrible for her because this is an elite gymnast that's done that 100 times. I'm sorry, probably 10,000 times. And it happened, and I couldn't imagine. And I remember sitting there watching. I remember going, God, I hope she's on floor beam. Like I hope she's got another shot. She won the gold medal on the floor. So like these are really tough women who do go through adversity and come back all the time. And Simone, and some of these women have more to prove because they haven't. Simone has nothing to prove at all, and
she's already proven it many times over what she needed to prove.
Yeah, she didn't need to go out there and break her fucking neck so that a bunch of people, felt like she was patriotic. It's bullshit. And I mean, I
agree with that.
Can't get down with that. She's the greatest of all time. And I also can't get down with people who are cheering for the women's soccer team to lose. Hey, look,
I don't see how you can, on one hand, knock someone for their perceived patriotism and letting down the country, and then also cheer against other teams like, basketball or soccer or whomever.
Either
you want them to win for the country, or you don't want anyone to, or you just are doing it for your own purposes. And either way, it's bullshit anyway.
I'm Team America, man. I'm like, I've got my issues with some of them and the things that have been done, as I have my issues with the men's basketball team. But of course, dude, I want to win. I'm like, we can fight our brother, but you can't. The Chinese guy can't fight my brother. I mean, you know what I mean? Like,
our job.
Yeah.
If anyone's going to bully my brother, it's going to be me.
That's right.
Well,
big shout out here. Nobody's going to hear this, but best of luck to Arian Knighton, 17-year-old Tampa kid from Hillsborough High School. He's running here tonight in the prelims. And based on his trajectory, man, I think he's got a legitimate shot to win this race. And over the next 8 years, probably have some incredible things to show us on the track. I'm really excited for that.
It's always exciting to see him becoming that elite that young, because that there's physically he's only going to get even more physically imposing. So it's always now I can't wait for 4 years or 8 years from now to really see what he's going to be capable of.
It's actually only 3 years now that I think about it, because the Olympics is going to be in 2024.
World Cup next year too. So
yeah.
All right. Well, all right, man. We should probably let it go for here. Otherwise, we'll just keep talking all night. My wife will start yelling at me. And
Roger that.
But it was nice chatting again. I always enjoy these talks. I'm going to edit this and get it ready for tomorrow. It's gonna be
you got it.
Quick turnaround.
All right. Thank you to Three Sons, and everybody go America. Cheers.
America. Cheers.